how do I raise my kids to follow Christ in a culture that seems opposed to it? Well, every culture since Christ was on this earth was opposed to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good day to you, fam. This is B.
And this is D.
Bringing you the soul opinions of two everyday Christians.
So, folks, stand by. We are going to be talking to the fathers today. The fathers, the dads, the husbands, those that are raising kids in an untoward generation.
Very.
Before we get into today's episode, I want to talk about a couple things. One,
I feel like you're going to preach right now.
is our Patreon giveaway. We have a 25 subscriber Patreon giveaway. We're excited to start giving stuff away, but we need y'all to start subscribing. So if you subscribe to that membership, we have a 25 Patreon member giveaway, which is a custom bench-made knife in our color scheme. Very nice knife. It's about a $300 value for that. And we are going to be giving away a perfect EDC rechargeable stream light for our 500 sub giveaway in YouTube. Now, if you see this and you are Christian, just hit the subscribe button.
Yes, sir.
It's literally free. You just hit the button and you're done. Okay, like, comment. I mean, that'd be great for the old algorithm. But you know, we are wanting one day to spread this content and to help and to empower men of this generation to be Christian men, to be leaders in their home. And the more we can do things like this and give you more content, the more we don't have to do our other jobs. That is our main goal. Really, not to be rich. We don't want to be like all the other influencers, but we want to give you guys the meat and potatoes. We want to try to give that to you and empower some men in this generation.
And if I can say that, if a lot of that goal is, we wish we would have had something like this when we were just learning how to become dads and husbands and leaders, because we had people around. We had a good support group, but we didn't always want to go and ask hard questions. I don't know. I was that way, and us men can be that way. We don't necessarily want to go and just open up and be very vulnerable to anybody.
Yeah, we have this thing called pride.
Yeah,
and that's fine. You should have some pride.
But it's no buts. We should have pride. We just don't want to let that get in the way of being able to grow and being able to better serve each other, our children, our wives, our family, our community, our church, so on and so forth.
And I hope as we are growing, you are growing as well. Speaking of growing, I'm growing my little tummy today, drinking some beautiful coffee out of these beautiful EDC everyday Christian mugs that we have here. We will have that link in the bio. You can purchase these and not only rep our channel, but rep that you're a follower of God. Right there. Right there.
Yeah. These are 16-ounce mugs, and the logo is etched into the mug. But it looks really good. I was very happy with the product that we got. So working on getting that link, and then once we have it, we'll share it out and get one if you'd like it.
Okay, let's jump into it.
And we are talking about today.
We are talking about our main topic is fathers raising children to follow Christ when society seems opposed to it.
Which feels like it's a newer thing in today's day and age, because we always say it just seems so much harder than it was when we were growing up. And there's many truths to that. There's There are things that we fight today that we didn't have to fight when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s. But the Bible says there's nothing new under the sun, which is very true. This is not a new battle. It's just a different battle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we really want to talk about in today's society, always getting modern issues or today's society. You look at different topics in the Bible that the Bible is very clear on. I think as humanity, whether you are a follower of Christ, we have to be careful on taking a part of the word. We have to be careful on taking some of the word. You know, I'm a New Testament believer. That's great. I do too. But I believe in the entirety of the Word of God as well. And does that mean you're going to start stoning people because of Mosaic law? No. Okay. There's education in that in the Bible, in the New Testament. We're not followers of the law anymore, but so on and so forth. We can get deep, we can get dug up. If you have questions, please let us know, and we'll offer some of our knowledge on that. Just to add to that is, true. We're not going out and then stoning people because they mix their what do you call it, the type of material that they use in their clothing. I mean, that's not something that we're not under that particular law. But that doesn't mean that we ignore the 10 Commandments, for example. I mean, we still live by those. Those are pretty good rules to live by. Don't kill people. Don't steal. Obey your parents. There's a lot of good things to that. Well, and Jesus, when he preached, he hit on those topics as well.
Still, yeah.
He still hit on what we need to believe and how we should believe, and what he taught is kind of, if you're a Christian, you want to be Christ-like. So you're following Jesus Christ. You're following God, and yeah.
And that's what we want our children, as we're raising them. We want them to do the same. And it can feel hard to keep our children on the straight and narrow because there are a lot of distractions. And the biggest one, and there's a lot of topics that we can cover on raising children to follow the Lord in today's society, when society seems to be very opposed to it. But one of the biggest ones we feel that we've had a big challenge, not just with our own kids, but with our young people in our church, is technology.
B and I were having discussions, and I mean, we can look back in gender and sexuality and all the sorts, and we can kind of point our finger kind of right back to those who worship other gods in the Bible, or even Sodom and Gomorrah, where there was males trying to pull angels into, to have their way with them. It was such a disgusting land. Yeah. And I feel like everybody feels like today's land is like that, right? There are certain parts of the United States, let alone the world, that are probably like that. We in America are blessed with our subdivisions and our homes that are boarded up with fences that we kind of push everybody else out. This is my area. Right. But a lot of the world doesn't see that. And that kind of goes along with the pain and suffering issue and all that stuff. Well, we were hitting all these topics because we want to empower the father. We want to empower the man of the home, right? To be a man and to gird up the loins and to drive his family, including us. We need to do the same, but technology just kept coming up because that's the biggest difference of even the 1950s to now. Is technology. What are some of I mean, there's so many positives too, right?
Oh yeah. Like, for example, knowledge is at your fingertips. They call it the information age for a reason, because you can Google anything. You can use now ChatGPT-4 to use,
which is kind of still dangerous, but
right. But you can use that, and you can say, give me the top 10 best ways to learn about how to fix my car. And it will give you not only detailed information, bullet pointed out, but give you a link to where it found the source. And it just combs the internet
in a second.
It's amazing. I love it. But yeah, there are kind of pitfalls to it. But bringing it back to following the Lord and having children following the Lord and trying to raise them that way is one of the best things that I've been able to utilize now that we have YouTube and the internet, is just learning how to play an instrument, how to play it well, learning different licks on the piano, on the bass. You've watched a lot of drum, either tutorials or just drummers that do drum covers, and like, oh, that's kind of a cool deal. Mm-hmm. But our kids have done the same. So things that I didn't have available to me, I had to go on. It wasn't even, I think I did eventually order it on a website, but I forgot where I got my first VHS cassette on how to play gospel piano.
Yeah, I remember watching VHS on an old drummer, Kira Jimbo.
Oh, man, that was cool.
Driving my family insane.
Yep, I got a lot of, thank you for giving him that video. Well, you're welcome. But no, it's the way that it's all at our fingertips. So much, we can learn so much so fast in the way that we want to learn it. That's a beautiful thing.
It almost made us lazy, in a sense. Like, we don't even have to search for that info. We just have to type it. That's kind of a lot of work right now.
Yeah, then you got to go do something with that word. That's a big proponent of technology, and also being able to be in contact with like our children and our families and friends in an instant, wherever they're at.
Yeah, literally in an instant.
Yeah.
Like we said, we're not against technology.
No,
we are not preaching some type of doctrine that's not for the internet, or we unfortunately have to use it every day. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, I am my age. I'm not going to tell you. I will let you guess that. Be nice. But I actually had just got hearing aids, and a lot of that is due to drumming for many years. Maybe a little bit of gunfire too without hearing pro.
Bruh.
But even the hearing aids have AI built in to detect a dictation. That's so cool. When somebody is speaking, it zeroes in on that instead of any background noise, which is amazing. That's a main thing. That's the main thing you want to, utilize in a hearing aid is like, I want to hear people talk. I want to have a good conversation, right? So even hearing aids have AI built in. Yeah. So you can't get away from it these days. You cannot turn your back and cover your eyes and pretend it's not there.
Right.
We just, as parents, especially men, getting our wives on the same page, I feel is half the battle. If the wife is saying, "Hey, there's no more screen time," and then I've been guilty. I'm using this as an example, right? The wife is like, "No screen time. You don't need an iPad. You don't need anything. Go play. Go outside. Go do some work. Whatever you need to do. But you're not having any screen time." Then I'll turn around 10 minutes later. They'll ask me, and I'm like, "I don't care." I'm not. Well, what'd your mom say? Or, "Hey, mom, what did you say about this?"
Right.
Just taking the extra couple minutes to make sure you are still being the leader of the home and not someone that your kids know, "Hey, I can get away with this."
Yeah. That is a big deal. Being on the same page, because otherwise, and children always know, and this is kind of a little bit of a sidebar, but children know who to go and ask. They know how to also pit one against the other. So, and parents out here that have been parents for any amount of time know that's the case. So being on the same page is kind of a big deal.
Yeah. We are trying to eat healthier. Quick sidebar. We're trying to eat a little healthier, but I still bought cookie butter from Trader Joe's.
I remember that.
It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So Dom, one of my middle children, he is obsessed with cookie butter. So he had his little brother. I mean, this is just a couple days ago, folks. He had his little brother come up and ask if he can have some cookie butter. Then I said, no, it's 9:00. You guys need to be in bed. Okay. So he goes back to Dom, and Dom goes, what did he say? I heard it clear as day, right? And I'm like, man, come on.
Wow, Dom.
Come on, man.
That's funny. Because he knew that you would tell him no, but he sent the 5-year-old.
Yeah. What did he say? Because if you get some, I get some, right? So it's just communicating. It's having those boundaries in your home that create boundaries in the heart of these young people. And I believe most young people want to be good. They want to do good, right? It's us as parents, I feel, are the issue. Now, I say that I've seen many, many young people over the years. I am the youth leader at our church. I have seen and heard a lot of different stories and a lot of different parenting styles. One thing that works is not being a proponent or not giving access where access should be denied.
Oh, okay. Which is a pitfall of technology. So the beautiful part of technology is being able to keep in contact with your kiddos wherever they're at. So the biggest way to, the best way to do that is having a phone, right? You get a whatever the newest brand of phone. You can contact them, whether it's messaging, texts, or calls, wherever they're at. Some phones allow you to track them, so you always keep wherever you can see where they're at. But the downside is now they have a phone wherever they're at. So that usually comes with internet access, unless you do something like we started off our kiddos with a Gab phone. This is not a sponsorship, but it's something that we use because it doesn't have.
We're not opposed to it.
No. Well, right, Gab, but it is something that all so far. I think one of yours, 2 of mine have had, and several iterations of those phones. They have minimal apps and no internet access. And
all the apps have to be approved by the parent first, including music, right?
Right.
Gab music, you have to pay for that, and it's very limited, anyways, on their music selection.
Yeah.
But I didn't mean to knock you off the soapbox.
No, you're good.
But no, it all has to go through the parent.
Yeah. And something that we encourage, I would say I definitely encourage this, is something my parents used to tell me is, and I now tell my kids this, is we will trust you until you prove you can't be trusted. And that is to say, we will give you, as they have grown up, we give them more and more responsibility, more and more ownership and autonomy, so that they can be allowed to make mistakes, but not so much that they will basically hang themselves. That makes sense. You give them enough rope to hurt themselves, but not to hang themselves. Now, what that does is it teaches them to operate with, like, you have all of these tools at your disposal. Use the positives and don't go towards the negatives or the damaging, the destructive part. When they do, usually not if, but when they do,
right,
then you reel it back and you say, this is not okay. This is why it's not okay. So now you lose this for a time, and now you're no longer as autonomous as you used to be. And that, for some kids, some young people, that is kind of devastating, because they like their autonomy. They like being able to be, I'm grown up, I can handle this, I have more responsibility. So,
which it's important.
Yeah,
it's important to give them that. But when they keep trying to hang themselves,
yeah, well, then you got to take a different route.
and that goes also. Okay, we hit on technology, but we're purposefully not hitting on the P word. Okay.
Yep.
Corn, right? With a C, with a P, because now YouTube.
That's a word.
Yeah, it's a trigger word that will not allow us to be monetized later on in the future.
Yeah.
So the P word I want to hit on, because very quickly we're not making this about that.
No.
It gets way too much glory. And yes, it is a huge issue with kids.
Yep.
That's why my young man does not have a phone that will give him access to these certain things. That's why if they're 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, they should not have a phone that will give them access to these things, right? Because what we're doing as parents is just setting them up for failure. Because what would you do? What would I have done if I had this kind of technology when I was that age?
Oh my word, I'd have destroyed myself.
Yeah, I was already struggling with all the emotions and with all the stuff and I just want a girlfriend. I want to be married so bad. Here's access to anything and everything that you ever wanted
by yourself in your room.
Yeah. So parents, please wisen up. If you give access, maybe start taking some of that back. Okay. It's not too late to, I feel like as men to lead your home. That's probably the most important thing you're dealing with at this point is too much access. Okay. And then what are you doing with that access as well?
Yeah.
That's the other thing as men.
Yeah. And something sparked a thought when you were just talking. And oh boy, what was it? Hold up. Okay. No, it's not coming. Part of it is I think what was coming to my mind is that, we're not saying that all parents aren't taking control of their house and that they're not doing some of these things, because it's more of it's easy to allow your kids to just, hey, here's YouTube, here's a tablet, here's a phone, here's a smart TV, and just veg out for a while because I got things to do, or I don't want to think right now. And then that's their babysitter, right? And it's so easy to just allow that instead of taking the reins, just go because I don't want to deal. But it's important. It's important to have those boundaries. So if you are doing that, there's nothing wrong, and there it is. There's nothing wrong with us as parents, especially as fathers, being, hey, phone check, Chromebook check, laptop check,
100%,
because you're not ruining your children by invading their world. Their world right now is all about you. It's all about us, right? It's our family. That's all that they know. And for us to go in and basically invade from time to time and say, let's just do a clean sweep. What do you got? It really helps them in the long run, because they're like, there's been a couple of times where I've had to deal with things with either other young people in our church or my own young people in my home. And it's one thing when you get them out of trouble that they don't know how to get themselves out of, that they got themselves into, and they don't want to come talk to you either because they're embarrassed or whatever the case might be. It's okay to say, you know what, what are you dealing with? Let's just check and see, so they can at some point be like, I'm caught, but now I feel like I can come clean.
Yeah. Well, that's our. I don't want to sound like I'm, beating a dead horse already.
Yeah, right.
But that is our responsibility. And that's what I'm talking about, is getting on the same page with your wife. Your wife is a gatekeeper. Okay. She is, yes, we as men should not be letting things in, but she keeps it, right? She's the home keeper. She, when you guys are on the same page, it'll just hit her and she'll be like, we need to check this.
Yep.
We need to check that. And it's nine. Here I go. Nine times out of 10. Dude, we need to, that's our next t-shirt. 9 times out of 10. 9 times out of 10, 95% of the time, she is correct.
Yeah.
And so listening to your wife, trusting your wife. Yes, you are the leader of the home, but she is also the neck that helps you turn that big head of yours. But with all of this also comes addictions.
Yep.
And we're not talking about the P word. Okay. I'm not, let's just get that out of our mind right now. We already hit on it,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about somebody who doesn't even have access to things on a Gab phone, that they still can't take their phone out of their hand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Why? Right?
Yeah.
There's too much access there.
And you can get addicted to like just the your friends, the attention. You can get addicted to attention. You can get addicted to, if your young person has, and even us as adults, right? If we have access to social media and we post something and there's a whole bunch of likes, I need that again. That's an endorphin. It's an endorphin kick.
Yeah.
So that could be an addiction that just keeps you scrolling. That just keeps you posting. It keeps you, instead of doing what you need to do. So that's it. That also can reduce your attention span, especially because of shorts. And I love them.
Oh, for sure.
I love them.
Yeah.
But young people have a harder time with that.
Yeah. And I mean us as old people too, instead of being maybe who we need to be, right? And I want to preface this real quick on our pastor preaches, and I have been taught most of my adult life. You practice what you preach. So we're saying these things today because we have dealt with them.
Yes, sir.
We have dealt with them directly in our family, and we have dealt with them in our ministries. We have dealt with them other places. So we're not like telling you like we've never been there, okay? We have been in your shoes, or we are in your shoes. And if you're doing good in your home, kill it. Keep killing it, and keep pushing your family to be better and do better. But me as a husband, dude, those shorts get me every time.
Oh yeah, doom scrolling.
The clock just keeps ticking away, and I'm just like, and I could be reading either. I mean, I could be making it about God, one, because we need to make Him the center of everything, right? And so there's that balance of life.
Balance.
What am I putting before God? Or if I'm, and it happens so often. I catch myself so often, not giving enough time to God, or even idle hands are the devil's playground.
Oh yeah.
And it's very true. If you got nothing to do, if you're not doing anything productive, you let your mind wander a little bit too much. Then the enemy also knows that.
Oh yeah.
So he will plant some seeds and see what you're really made of.
And now you have access to technology, and that could be the devil's playground right there, at least in your mind. And he's patient. He's done this a lot longer than any of us have done this, so he knows to be patient, and he knows what that carrot is that he can dangle in front of you to get you to bite. So
yeah,
be careful with that.
whether that is that one word, or whether that is money issues, whether that's gambling, whether I mean everything now is right here at my fingertips or at my thumb. Yeah, I can just do whatever I want.
And along with the another pitfall, another challenge when it comes to technology is that, and we kind of hit on it, the exposure to inappropriate content. But what it does is it really reduces the young person, and even the adults, their innocence. Especially young people, it reduces their innocence, and they start to grow up a lot faster than you want them to. It desensitizes them to whatever is going on in the world, and to all of morality, to be honest. Now everything is normal. They want things to be normalized that should not be normalized.
And there's a big thing in social media. I believe it's TikTok. I don't have it, so I don't really know how it works. I did study it a little bit for my youth group, but it was all these videos that got leaked. And it was a mass thing. My son was at band for school, and he said all of a sudden everybody's phones started going off, and they started getting all these videos from TikTok of beheadings and death and things like the natural human eye shouldn't see. Yikes. It shouldn't be a natural thing to see that. So what we do sometimes, even having TikTok on an app for these kids, they're just searing their conscience. They're taking that iron, and where it was sensitive if you burn your fingertips enough, you'll start to sear the nerve endings.
Yeah, callous.
So that's what they do on their conscience is they keep seeing chicks in bikinis, or chicks dancing, or chicks shaking this or that, or it just makes it normal now. It's just like, well, if I don't see that in real life, that's weird. If I saw it right in front of me, it'd just be like, oh, look.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And, and just like my parents have always told me, actually my mother has always said this, that you'll more than likely in life, you're not going to get ever hit by a train, but don't lay on the tracks. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're you have your phone, and what you should be teaching, for yourself for one, and also teaching your children is same thing. Don't go to these places and these websites or other communities that could potentially get you hit by a train, if you will. Don't lay on the tracks. So it's I don't know.
Sometimes it feels like we do that. Don't we?
Right.
I want to end this episode and try to encourage. Right.
Yeah. It's not all negative.
Growth as a human, growth as an individual is hard. Why don't you think there's so many people that don't work out compared to that do? Right? You gym rats out there, January 1st hits, you see it and you're like, what losers. I know they're not going to be in here in 20 days. And it's probably true. Yeah. It's probably true. It's because it's hard work. Growth is painful.
And it's a commitment.
And it is a commitment. So I'm challenging the men out there. Mm-hmm. If you're a grandpa, lead your grandkids. Mm-hmm. If they need led, if you feel like they're not being led in a certain direction that you feel they should be, take that lead. Mm-hmm. Gird up your loins and be the man that they need in their life. Because if I was given everything in my life, I wouldn't be that big of a man today.
No. And that's a great point. That there is a balance to technology, right? There's the positives that all the knowledge is at your fingertips, and you can grow and you can learn so much in whatever you'd like, whether it's your craft or just learning just how to cook a good steak. But there's also the negative that you could expose yourself to a whole lot of content that's not good. But you also grow your children when you allow them to go through some difficult things and to make difficult choices, as long as they're making the right choices. So don't handicap them by just taking everything away so they can't go through this life without having the knowledge of how to navigate the good and the bad. But don't give them enough rope, if you will, to hang themselves.
Fathers, husbands, take control and lead.
Yes, sir.
That is the number one thing that your wife and your kids are going to need out of you and want out of you.
Yeah. I really hope that you've enjoyed this episode, y'all, because I think I have.
I have too, and we'll see you next time.
We love you, fam.